Simply put, this is exactly what we needed, as following a great stretch of play for the T-Wolves, there is one player that has not only exceeded expectations, but is doing something that changes everything going forward for our T-Wolves. We're going to break this down for you today in this particular episode. We're going to talk about that player and how he is actually making things a whole lot easier for the rest of the T-Wolves. Welcome back to the Timberwolves Digest. As always, North America, I am Dave Dabbah. I am the new host of the Timberwolves Digest, so please go ahead and subscribe when you have a chance. So as I mentioned, we are going to get into this one player, and if you're wondering who that one player is, it is, of course, Naz Reid. We're going to do a full episode, basically entirely dedicated to just how well Naz Reid has actually been playing over his last couple games. We're going to get into that. Plus, at the back end, a brand new segment for you Timberwolves fans, a little something that I actually like to call Ant-Man's Corner. But we begin today by taking a look at what Naz Reid has actually accomplished over the last 3 games. Now, 23 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. Now, one of the great things about Naz Reid during this stretch is he's actually shooting over 50% from the three-point arc, which of course, absolutely opens up other things for other players. Now, I've been following the T-Wolves since their inception, and I can tell you that when I watch Naz Reid play, he's very unlike just about any other T-Wolf from a center perspective who can actually shoot from the arc consistently and do it well, and then also have the ball handling skills to actually drive to the hole. Now, when Naz Reid does that, Naz certainly is looking out for his teammates to see who else might actually be open on the perimeter. Look, when you have a center that is as good as Naz Reid shooting from the three-point arc and you're bringing him off of the bench, that spells trouble for the rest of the National Basketball Association. Now we're going to talk about what Naz actually accomplished during his last game. And grain of salt, we know that this was the Washington Wizards, but Naz ended up scoring 28 points in the game. He had a significant amount of rebounds and was 5 for 10 from the three-point arc. And when things got a little scary down the stretch in the game, certainly having Naz Reid actually drive to the hole opened things up a little bit for some of the other players. Now, we've seen Donte DiVincenzo actually look pretty good over the last handful of games as well. We also know that Ant-Man has been struggling over the last 3 games from the three-point arc. He's literally, factually, 3 for 30. I mean, he started out the season was just unbelievably hot. Like Naz, he was shooting over 50% from the three-point arc. But the Ant-Man has, if you will, gone cold from the three-point arc. So over the past couple games, it's been very important and imperative for the T-Wolves to actually have somebody else step up. Now, one of the things in the National Basketball Association that often gets overlooked is, of course, the best 6-man in the NBA. And I think with Naz Reid actually coming off the bench as he is right now, and we know that he's won the 6-Man of the Year award in the past, he certainly is playing at that caliber, at least over the last handful of games, where you would have to consider Naz Reid as a potential 6-Man of the Year award winner. Look, this show's interactive. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are as well, North America. Please go ahead and drop your comments in. Now, taking a look at where Naz currently is at versus where he was at last season, and you have to remember, Naz has actually started out the season a little sluggish. And as I mentioned, over the last handful of games, he's been back on track, which of course has actually spelled and made things possible for a lot of the other players to also remain on track while the Ant-Man has been in his three-point shooting slump. So looking at where Naz is now compared to where he was last year, one of the things I'll point out is he's actually playing less minutes right now than he did last season. And I think when we look at his percentages, and while they're all basically the same at this point, I do want to point out that he is playing less minutes right now. Now, of course, it's a long season, and these things tend to turn into a wash as the season goes on. But I think what we've seen out of Naz over the last handful of games gives me a lot of confidence that if the Timberwolves need Naz Reid to be an even larger contributor from a scoring perspective this season, that could actually happen. It would not surprise me at all to see Naz Reid at the end of the season averaging something north of 17 points a game. So, we talk about centers in the National Basketball Association, and we all know what the cat actually says about himself, that he's the greatest center to shoot threes in the history of the game. And while that may come true someday, when we actually look at the stats from last season, did you know that Naz Reid actually led the NBA for centers with most made threes? It's one of the key reasons I think the T-Wolves, outside of just Naz being totally lovable and everybody loving Naz Reid for his effort and the way he actually plays, and he's just a great Timberwolf. I mean, there's a lot of you out there have those Naz Reid tattoos, don't you? That being said, just watching Naz Reid play and knowing that he actually ended up leading the NBA last season, and if you look at how many more threes he actually made last season versus Cat's self-proclaimed greatest center to ever shoot threes statement, I think Naz might actually have something to say about that. Love to know your thoughts and opinions on that as well. Look, at the end of the day, it is a long season. And we know that players go through ups and downs. Ant-Man shooting the ball great initially, then coming back from injury, shooting pretty well initially, and then suddenly struggling from the three-point arc is part of what a NBA long, strange season journey is really ultimately all about. Speaking of the Ant-Man, now I want to introduce you all to a new segment on the Timberwolves Digest, a little something that I actually like to call Ant-Man's Corner. Now, periodically throughout the season, and I want to get your requests as well, tell me what you want me to talk about when we do get into Ant-Man's Corner. Now, in this particular Ant-Man's Corner, I just wanted to point out what he actually said. And you all can read this particular statement. And this, of course, was after the Timberwolves ended up losing at home to the Denver Nuggets last week. And what Ant-Man was basically saying in a very colorful way, as only the Ant-Man can, is entirely accurate. It's really what is one of the great things about Ant-Man over the last 24 months, really, is that he's really matured a lot in how he plays. He's also matured a lot off the court, and he's willing to actually take the heat when the team actually loses, regardless of whether or not it's his fault. One of the other great things about Ant-Man that I like is he also points out, and this is a prime example of that, when somebody actually does well. And that, of course, was Naz Reid wearing his Prince Timberwolves jersey. All right. Love to know your thoughts and opinions. Please go ahead and drop them in. As I mentioned, I'm the new host of the Timberwolves Digest. My name is Dave Dabbah, lifelong Minnesota Timberwolves fan. I was there from the actual Timberwolves inception. No, I didn't actually help come up with the name, but I was there at the very beginning, and I followed this team religiously ever since. Drop your comments in. As I mentioned, this is totally interactive. I want to hear from you, North America. For the Timberwolves Digest, as always, I'm Dave Dabbah, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.